Good morning, everyone. A little bit later than regular. Also, going to be a little bit different message than regular. It is Monday, December 24th, 2018, the day before Christmas. Hope you're getting all your Christmas shopping done. You're running out of time. Tomorrow is Christmas. We are in, excuse me there. We are in McFarland, Wisconsin. I always want to say McFarland, Texas. McFarland, it sounds like it should be in Texas. There probably is a McFarland in Texas, but we're in McFarland, Wisconsin. And I got up this morning, put on my Iowa shirt. In case I get lost today, they'll just send me back to Iowa. Go Hawks. But anyway, we are up here for Christmas. Good morning, April. Not going to have my normal crowd. I usually do a 7 a.m. message, and I do that before I go to work. I start work at 8 o'clock in the morning. Of course, I am off work. I have been able to be lucky enough. The weather has cooperated this year. I had some days remaining in which I am now off until January 2nd. Hallelujah. So who knows how my messages will go. We will continue to read in the Word. We are in Proverbs 14 right now, but we are not going to go with Proverbs 14 today. I will go back to that. I don't know. Good morning, Barb. It's going to be probably Wednesday. I'm not going to do a message tomorrow with Christmas and all. Who knows? The boys may be opening presents in the morning, and so we want to leave the day for the boys. They're so excited, so ramped up, and excited that Santa is going to be coming tonight. I tried to show them Santa on the radar this morning, but yeah, a lot of things to be excited for, a lot of things to be thankful for. But yet there are a lot of hard times this holiday season. There are scars that still exist. There are those in our life who are very close to us that we miss during the holiday season. We always think about them during the holiday season. I think about my brother who was born on the week before Christmas, that passed away in 2011, and he is not here during the holiday season. My father that I lost in 1992, and so many other loved ones. And during the holiday season, people that are mourning over death of loved ones in their life that aren't here to celebrate this Christmas and holiday season with them. And we just have to pray that they're in a much better place than us, and that one day we can rejoin them as well. We have work to do. There are times, and there are people out there right now in which life has changed a lot over the last few years. I know in my case, I was in a 25-year marriage that ended in 2014. My life has really changed since then. There has been good with it, but there's also been some heartache with it. Things don't look the way I envisioned them to be years ago. And as many beautiful things that are in my life right now, this morning, we had the grandboys in the bed, and the dog jumped in the bed too. So we had taken pictures and put them on Facebook. They were kind of cute. All the boys were taking pictures, and Becky was taking pictures and doing all these crazy and corny pictures and having a lot of fun with the grandboys. And they're just so excited. I don't think they ever want us to leave. We came up yesterday. We surprised them. We thought we were going to be coming up here today. Things worked out in which we came up yesterday, and so they were very surprised, very pleased, very excited, and of course they don't want us to leave. But we will have to leave at some point. It is hard now that they're in Wisconsin. We're in Iowa. It is only a 4.5-hour drive, but it's not the 2-mile drive it used to be. And so we get a lot of FaceTime calls and such. But yet, with divorce, things look differently than they did before. And while there's so much to be grateful for, there is also things that are wanting relationships and having one great big happy family. Those are things I pray for, and those are things that I've turned over to the Lord. so that he can work on those things for me, so that I don't carry the great burden. I can't control everybody's choices. I can only control what I choose to do. And I choose to keep moving forward with God at my side, with Becky at my side. And then from there, whoever is willing to accept me for the journey I am on. And understanding that there are people that are not willing to accept where I am right now. And it's their choices, just as it's my choices. And what I have to do is I have to be able to extend grace. I have to be willing to accept that not everybody's going to choose to embrace the journey I am on right now. And so I have to be able to grant forgiveness and grace, just as God was by my side. It took me 48 years to finally get it, for the light to come on, for me to open my eyes and come out of the darkness I was in, and realize all this time God was by my side, and God had a great plan and great purpose for my life. And he was so very thankful. He never left my side. He is bringing great things into my life. And there's great things that will continue to happen. Not everything is going to happen in my timing. What I have to do is I have to defer to God's timing. And understand things that I can't control. And people's choices that I can't control. I have to turn it to him. And trust that in his perfect timing, he is working on the hearts that need to be worked on, so that one day it will come together. Not on my timing, but on God's timing. And so what we need to do is we need to understand that we can't control what everybody chooses to do according to what we're doing in our life. If we're living our lives according to what God wants us to do, we have to accept the fact that there are people that are going to embrace our story, embrace our journey, and they're going to love us where we're at. And then on the other hand, there's going to be people that are not going to embrace you. They're not going to embrace the journey you're on. They're not going to accept it because they don't understand it. That's the reason they can't accept. They cannot accept something they don't understand. What they have to do is come to the realization that they will only come to God in the same way that you came to him. In a time of desperation, a time of weakness, a time that you had no other avenue to go to, no one else to turn to. And in that point of desperation, you turn to God. And God will show you so many things. And what you have to understand is that people that haven't gotten there yet are just not going to understand. No matter how many times you may try to tell them, how many different ways you may try to tell them, they're just not going to get it. And so what you have to do is you have to understand your priorities. God is number one. And sometimes you're going to lose some people along the way that you care for and love so very much. But what you have to realize is that when we surrender to God, we have to give God everything that we are. We must be obedient to what he calls us to do. For he has great plan and great purpose for our life. And if we surrender in any way, then we're not going to experience what God has for our lives. And what it means sometimes is, and you can read for this yourself in the Bible, that Jesus talked about there would be separation, even within family members. And what we have to understand, and I wrote about this some different times, is that in my mind anyway, some people look at family as blood. But truly, family is who is there to embrace you. There's, of course, adoption situations. When you adopt a child, they become part of your family. They're not bloodlines, but yet they are your family members. There's divorce situations in which you acquire children, grandchildren. They're still part of your family. Your family is not defined by bloodlines, but it's by those who embrace you wherever you're at. They understand they may not always agree with you, but they still love you anyway. Family is not about blood. Family is about love. God teaches us about love. And it's those people that love you. That is your family. Good morning, Scott. Bible Blues brother Scott. Scott is my family. He was there. He spent a day walking around the Capitol with me for 6 laps, reading the book of Psalms. That is family. Family is not defined by blood. Family is defined by those that are there for you. Those that care and love you. Again, like I said, no matter what. We may not always agree with each other, but we're still there for each other. Family doesn't surrender, doesn't leave you. But the thing is that what we have to understand is that even when family isn't with you, when you need them, what you have to be doing is you have to be willing to, at the same time, be willing to give grace. Just understand that right now you're in 2 different places. And you have to keep your heart open and willing to embrace when that reunion comes. And let God work on people's hearts. Never give up on any relationship. We can never write anybody off. God does not want us to write anybody off. There may be walls put up, walls of separation. But God doesn't want us to give up. What we have to sometimes do is we have to surrender things to God so that He can work on them. And so what we have to do is we have to embrace. We can't change whatever's happened in the past. We have to accept where we're at right now, no matter what has happened behind us. No matter what regrets we may have. No matter how many losses we may have experienced. We can't bring back the people we care for and love so very much. We can't change the circumstances of our past. No matter how many times we can think about them and think and wish and regret and say, I wish I would have done it differently. You're in this moment, this place and time. You're upon another holiday season. It may not look the way you want it to look. It may not be the way you envisioned it to be. There may be other people's choices that have created barriers that you wish weren't there. But what you have to remember is you have to embrace whoever is there in the moment. You have to embrace what you're in right now. The great things that God has given you. The sacrifice that His Son has made for you. And just accept that very fact. Accept that gift. God has given you new life. He has given you eternal life. And once you pass away here, if you believe in everything Jesus Christ has given to you, you are going to put on His coat of righteousness, and you will be in the company of God for all eternity. In these days, we're going to have some rough times. It doesn't change. We're going to have a beautiful eternity, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we're going to struggle at times. We're going to continue to lose people during this holiday season that meant so much to us. And all of a sudden you come together at Christmas time and there's an empty chair for somebody who used to be with you. And you mourn their loss. And that loss hits you. But what we have to remember is that if it was us that was the one that was to depart, we would not want our loved ones to mourn. We would want them to celebrate because we're in a much better place. We have gone away to make preparations for them so that they can join us one day. And so though we should remember those we have lost, we should not be in great mourning, but rather in great celebration for the life and the time that they had spent with us. Just remember, we will be the ones going one day. And I know that when I go, I don't want people to mourn for me. I want people to celebrate. Let's celebrate their life. Let's celebrate their memory. Let's rejoice in the fact that they were here. And for things that aren't looking the way we want them to do, they look right now, let's embrace what we have. Let's be thankful for those that are around us. For when we are grateful for what we have, that provides the avenue for so many other things to be poured upon us by our Lord Jesus Christ. God has a great plan. God wants to bless us abundantly. But what we have to do is we've got to have an open heart. We have to be thankful for what we have. And that'll open our hearts for accepting so much more. I think I'll get to wrapping this up. I know I had to actually borrow Becky's phone because I want to read to you to wrap up. It's going to be my tradition. I'm going to read a story to you. It's a story from years ago. And when you hear part of it, you're going to understand that it was years ago. It's a story I heard in 2014. And since I've heard this story in 2014, every year, because it happened to be the year Becky and I met each other, that we have decided to do this and to bless an individual or bless a family with a monetary amount to help them this holiday season. Sometimes it's because somebody lost someone close to them during the holiday season, which I mentioned is just so heartbreaking, especially when you lose somebody right at the holiday mark. So very heartbreaking. And people that are in need. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this to you. I don't know whether it'll touch your heart, whether as it touched mine and Becky's, whether it'll lead you to do anything from here. And I'll try to read the story without crying, but I always cry. I'll just warn you right there. This story touches me very much. There's debate whether it's true or not. Just as we celebrate the reason for the season being the birth of Christ. And people will say, well, he really wasn't born on December 25th. Okay. They would probably be speaking truth. Because odds are Jesus Christ wasn't born on December 25th. But what we won't debate is the fact that he was born. He did live, and he did die. Those are all facts. And so what we do is we celebrate December 25th as the day. And so this story, whether it's true or false, doesn't matter. It has a great message. and it tells us about the true spirit of Christmas. And so with no further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and read the story. It's going to be awkward as I'm reading. Let's see if I can do this. It's just a small white envelope stuck among the branches of our Christmas tree. No name, no identification, no inscription. It has peeked through the branches of our tree for the past 10 years or so. It all began because my husband Mike hated Christmas. Oh, not the true meaning of Christmas, but the commercial aspects of it. The overspending, the frantic running around at the last minute, like today, to get a tie for Uncle Harry, and the dusting powder for Grandma. That's where it dates it right there, dusting powder. Does anybody give dusting powder anymore? The gifts given in desperation because you couldn't think of anything else. Knowing he felt this way, I decided one year to bypass the usual shirts, sweaters, ties, and so forth. I reached for something special just for Mike. The inspiration came in an unusual way. Our son Kevin, wonderful name, who was 12 that year, was wrestling at a junior high level at the school he attended. Shortly before Christmas, there was a non-league match against a team sponsored by an inner-city church. These youngsters dressed in sneakers so ragged that shoestrings seemed to be the only thing holding them together, presented a sharp contrast to our boys in their spiffy blue and gold uniforms and sparkling new wrestling shoes. As the match began, I was alarmed to see that the other team was wrestling without headgear, a kind of light helmet designed to protect the wrestlers' ears. It was a luxury the ragtag team obviously could not afford. Well, we ended up walloping them. We took every weight class, and as each of the boys got up from the mat, he swaggered around in his tatters with false bravado, a kind of street pride that couldn't acknowledge defeat. Mike, seated beside me, shook his head sadly. I just wish one of them could have won, he said. They have a lot of potential, but losing this could take the heart right out of them. Mike loved kids, all kids, and he knew them, having coached Little League football, baseball, and lacrosse. That's when the idea for his present came. That afternoon, I went to a local sporting goods store and brought an assortment of wrestling headgear and shoes and sent them anonymously to the inner city church. On Christmas Eve, I placed the envelope on the tree, the note inside telling Mike what I had done and that this was his gift from me. His smile was the brightest thing about Christmas that year and in the succeeding years. For each Christmas, I followed the tradition. One year, sending a group of mentally handicapped youngsters to a hockey game. Another year, a check to a pair of elderly brothers whose home had burned to the ground the week before Christmas, and on and on. The envelope became the highlight of our Christmas. It was always the last thing opened on Christmas morning, and our children, ignoring their new toys, would stand with wide-eyed anticipation as their dad lifted the envelope from the tree to reveal its contents. As the children grew, the toys gave way to more practical things, but the envelope never lost its allure. The story doesn't end there. You see, we lost Mike last year due to cancer. When Christmas rolled around, I was still so wrapped in grief that I barely got the tree up. But Christmas Eve found me placing an envelope on the tree, and in the morning it was joined by 3 more. Each of our children, unbeknownst to the others, had placed an envelope on the tree for their dad. The tradition has grown, and someday will expand even further with our grandchildren standing around the tree with wide-eyed anticipation, watching as their fathers take down the envelope. Mike's spirit, like the Christmas spirit, will always be with us. May we all remember Christ, who is the reason for the season and the true Christmas spirit this year and always. God bless. May we always remember the true reason for the season and the great gift that is presented to each one of us. The opportunity to spend eternity with the man who has given so much to us, who has so many plans for our lives, not only in heaven one day, but right now, right here, right now. If you haven't opened that gift yet, open it. There is so much inside, so much purpose for your life. But if we don't open it, we'll never find out. It took me a long time to realize that the gift was even there. And once I opened it, I am so glad that I did. There can be at times regrets that I didn't open it sooner. But like I said, you can't change what's already happened. And all you can do is accept where you're at right now. Whatever has happened. Whether you had total control over it, or whether you've had no control and you're just a victim of circumstance. All we can do is embrace the moment we're in right now and look at what we're going to do moving forward. May we understand the reason for the season. May we understand the bigger picture. That Christ has given us so much to be thankful for. And not be about the presents under the tree, but it may be about your presence, your physical presence in your family's life. And their family may be whoever accepts you for where you're at right now, no matter whether they agree with you or not. They just love you where you are. And accept that and embrace that and appreciate that. Because when we appreciate what we have been provided, God will provide an avenue to give us so much more. I am so thankful. I am so blessed. And I'm so loved. And I hope that you all have a very Merry Christmas. And we will talk to you again very soon. Love you all. Merry Christmas.